So good morning, everyone. We hope you're enjoying our 2021 Latino Unit today. This is the concurrent session number 2. We're going to be talking about the COVID-19 recovery as it relates to housing and employment. My name is Jose Marco Paredes. I am the Director of Civic Engagement for the Latino Policy Forum. And today we have with us a panel of 4 experts. With us, we have Evelyn Sanguinetti. She's the former Lieutenant Governor and Executive Director of Hope Fair Housing Center. We have Rodrigo Carrillo, Director of Strategic Initiatives and Planning of the Illinois Housing Development Authority. Osvaldo Alvarez, Statewide Census Director of the Illinois Department of Human Services. And I think that we're still waiting on Jorge Mujica from Arise Chicago. The panelists are going to be talking around 8-10 minutes, each one of them. And then we're going to have, we hope we have around 5 minutes left for any questions that you might have. Remember that you have a chat in your Zoom screen, right where it says Q&A. Please remember to add your questions there. With that said, we're going to get started. Evelyn Sanguinetti, welcome, and thank you for joining us. The floor is yours. Is there any, do you need to share your screen with any kind of presentation?
No, I'm just happy to be here with all of you en este 5 de Mayo. While I am not of Mexican descent, my father is from Ecuador and my mother is from Cuba. So in honor of Nuestro Dia, I have dressed in red. But I'm very grateful to be here with all of you. Now, right now I have 8 minutes. Correcto, Jose?
Correcto.
All right. Let me let you know what I've decided to do after being your Lieutenant Governor for 4 years. I went ahead and became the Executive Director of the Hope Fair Housing Center. Now, we're located here in Wheaton, Illinois, but our service area is quite large. As a matter of fact, Hope Fair Housing Center is the largest and the oldest fair housing center in all of Illinois. And our mission is to eradicate housing segregation and discrimination in all of its forms. If I could get anything done before all of you today, is to send you all the message to please use us as a resource. Our services are free of charge. Nuestros servicios son totalmente gratis. You could contact us at 630-690-6500. So a lot of you wonder, oh, Hope Fair Housing, where did you come from? When did this all happen? Well, we were born in 1968. And as you know, as a nation in 1968, we were going through a lot of hurt. It was at a time where our late and great Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated. But it was also a time where the Fair Housing Act was signed. And what the Fair Housing Act says is that you can't discriminate against someone on the basis of housing. So if, for instance, I were here in Wheaton and I wanted to move in a particular community and a bank tells me you can't move there because you're Hispanic, or another entity acts out against me because of that, the Fair Housing Act protects us. Now, what's beautiful about the Fair Housing Act is that it protects people on the basis of race, on the basis of color, on the basis of national origin, religion, sex, disability, familial status. And then if you look at the state of Illinois, we also have an act, the Illinois Human Rights Act, that mirrors our federal Fair Housing Act. And it contains many other additional protections. So you kind of got to say, well, we're all covered, right? You have the federal act, and then you have the statewide act. But there is a point that is not covered. As a matter of fact, I remember when I was a law school student at the John Marshall Law School, my very first case was a case of discrimination based upon source of income. Now, when you think about it, you wonder, I didn't hear you say that that was included in the Fair Housing Act, the federal one. And I didn't hear you say that this was included in the Illinois Human Rights Act. Por eso mismo estoy yo aquí con ustedes hoy. Today, we are about to talk about House Bill 2775. And what we're seeking to do, we're a coalition. It's not just me. I'm one of the louder ones. But we're a coalition of like-minded fair housing centers throughout the state of Illinois. And we know there is a problem. We know that landlords are free to discriminate against possible renters on the basis of their legal source of income. So people are like, okay, what does that look like? How do I know that it's a problem in my community? Well, let's say, for instance, somebody is on disability benefits. Let's say we have people with disabilities looking to get housing. Landlords are free to turn them away on the basis of their legal source of income, their disability income. A lot of people don't even realize that House Bill 2775 not only protects our elderly, not only protects individuals with disabilities, but it also protects our service workers. And that's a main theme of what we're discussing today. Because some time ago, as a body, we already were able to vote in favor of, unanimously almost, to provide a lot of these federal COVID dollars in an effort for people not to lose their housing, all right? And those federal dollars are there. Now, do you think landlords could discriminate against you based upon that source of income that you bring in? That COVID money that you folks have fought so hard to protect so that people will not go homeless? Yes, landlords are still free to do that. Why do they do that? Well, a lot of landlords look at the source of income brought in by our service workers, for instance, and they say, well, that's not necessarily the source of income we like to see. What we like to see here as landlords are wages. But you know what? It's a different time. And there is a very big urgency now. And we're seeing a lot of individuals lose their housing. And we're seeing these pockets of income that are available through other sources. A lot of people don't even realize that 2775 protects our single mothers that collect child support and alimony. Landlords could still reject you on that basis. 2775 will protect you. I'd also like to add that House Bill 2775 will protect our veterans. They receive assistance as well, and they look for housing as well, after all they did for all of us and our freedoms. Yet still, till this day, landlords are free to discriminate against them upon their legal source of income. So we have a lot of endorsers right now, and they're all across the board. We have our Veterans of Foreign Wars of Illinois. We have Zillow in the area of housing, all entities that understand the importance and the urgency of now. We have AARP, the list is endless. And I'm here today to say thank you for inviting me, pero también invitarlos a que se unan con nosotros en esta misión tan importante. As you know, a lot of landlords also turn away voucher holders and also turn away people that have other legal sources of income, but for another underlying basis. But today is a beautiful day, and we're not going to talk about that. But I think we all know. And the time is now. There's an urgency in now. We've gotten past the House of Representatives, and now we're before the Senate. Así que if this is a legislative priority that you folks are talking about today, let's do it, because there is that urgency. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you, Evelyn. Thank you for that great information about House Bill 2775. And thank you for your energy. Right now, coming up is Rodrigo Carrillo from IDA. Good luck keeping up with that energy, Rodrigo.
I don't know, Evelyn, you set the bar high, and I consider myself an energetic person, but yes, you're bringing the energy. Y gracias por tenernos aquí. 5 de mayo, familia mexicana. Soy de Guadalajara, Jalisco. So I love visiting my family in Guadalajara every year. Can't wait to see them again. I'm here. My name is Rodrigo Carrillo. I'm here to talk about IDA's new exciting program, Illinois Rental Payment Program. We are going to launch our program May 17th. We just came out with our date on Monday. We've been so excited to share that with the entire state of Illinois. I want to give you a glimpse of what we did and want to talk to you about ILRPP. So IDA, for those of you that don't know, is our mission is to create and preserve affordable housing throughout the state of Illinois. So since 1967, a year before Hope Fair Housing, we have allocated over $22 billion in the state of Illinois for affordable housing. Last year alone, we were able to assist in the creation of 6,600 new home buyers. So the new home buying market was strong last year. Last year was a big year also for IDA because we embarked in dispersing the Emergency Rental Assistance and Emergency Mortgage Assistance Program. This program saw that Illinois received the largest amount of money in the country to disperse in this assistance. And we are excited to share that we were the only state in the country to disperse all of the funds by December of 2020. So we have dispersed over $325 million across the state, helping over 56,000 households. And we were able to do that virtually. We had to design, implement, and roll out a program in 90 days in order for us to get this done. Now, we're proud of what we accomplished, and yes, we could have done better. One of the things that we could have done better is our numbers in the Latino market in nuestra comunidad were low. There were 12% of Latinos receive this funding. We want to make that better. We want to change that. So we have been able to have more intentional, thoughtful, and lengthier process of outreach into our communities. And we'll tell you a little bit about the difference between this time and last time. Like I said, Illinois Rental Payment Program will launch on May 17th with an application portal that will be initiated this time around by the housing provider, which landlords now like to have said we are referred to as housing providers. So we're going with their term. Housing providers will initiate the application on any tenant that they may have that is past due on their rent, that has suffered a reduction or loss of income due to COVID-19 and that's below the 80% AMI eligibility factor for the entire state of Illinois. So once they begin the application, housing providers will answer a few questions regarding all, the past due rent and detail that. Then the tenant will then receive that application. They will not be able to see what the landlord puts in, but the tenant will certify that there are past due, upload some proof of income. That is the difference this time around. Treasury has imposed a proof of income, unlike last time, but we understand that we have communities and folks that are making cash income or don't have proof of income, particularly our undocumented communities that can't provide that proof. We have created a written attestation form for income proof. So this written attestation form will be on our website, and someone is able to download this form, fill it out in English and in Spanish, and submit it as proof of income. Eligibility, I just stated that, below 80% suffered of loss of income in the household due to COVID-19. And the one exciting thing that we can do is last time we did not have clear direction on this per Treasury about having this program available to undocumented communities. So we are able to have direction now. So we're screaming it loud and proud, putting it on our print. No proof of citizenship is not required for this program. So once again, proof of citizenship is not required for this program. Social Security number or ITIN is only required from the housing provider. Tenants will not be asked this question, and this is not a public charge benefit. The other change about our program is last time we did a $5,000 one-time payment. Well, this time we're going above and beyond that. We are paying up to 12 months of arrearage and an additional 3 months perspective for those that need it, for a total of 15 months of rent, capping each household at $25,000 per household for assistance. That means if housing providers have 3-4 tenants that are not paying the rent, yes, that housing provider can receive up to $25,000 per household. That is depending on the need of the tenant. Payments will be directly paid to the housing provider in form of a check. We tried ACH last time. I can't tell you, I thought it would be quicker, but it's not. So we're going the good old school way and cutting a check to the housing providers, mailing it to their home. The documentation, when we designed this program, we wanted to keep it easy breezy for both the tenants and the housing providers. For tenants, documentation will be required is a government issue ID. That could be any government issue ID, a foreign passport, a matricula, the city key ID for Chicago, the temporary visitor's driver's license in Illinois. We're going to accept that as your ID, regardless of expiration date. If your ID does not contain the unit in which the tenant lives, they will have to provide proof of address, which is a utility bill, cell phone bill, insurance, anything that states their address. The other thing is if there are tenants that receive SNAP benefits or TANF benefits, we encourage them to upload their award letter. So this way we'll fast track that application to get an approval because those income requirements are already calculated for us. Lastly, for the tenant, they will have to submit proof of income. 1040s for 2020, W-2s, pay stubs, and as I just stated, that income attestation form, which is going to benefit so many people that are making cash. That is it for proof of documentation for the tenant. The housing provider is going to need to provide proof of ownership. They're going to provide a current lease if available. Jose Marco, Latino Policy Forum was like very diligent about this. Last time around, we required a lease. This is prohibiting many communities from applying for this program. We are happy to say we are provided guidance to Treasury. And if a lease exists and it is current, we ask for it. If it does not prohibit an application or an approval. So we're really excited about that. Lastly, for the housing provider, written form of proof of past due rent is very important to have a rent roll that dictates what past due amounts were for the months that they've applied. An eviction notice, a 5-day notice, those are some of the examples that one can utilize. Now, we know that in these virtual times, much of this is done through technology. And so we know that there are communities that face technology and language barriers. That is why we have enlisted 64 agencies across the entire state of Illinois that will cover 102 counties, which is the entire state, that will provide assistance to both housing providers and tenants for applications and to check status of the application, which is another big change for us. We have a website in which applicants will be able to check their status. So I think my time is up, but I just want to say how excited Ida is, our director, Kristen Faust, and we have been hard at designing this program for the past 5 months on a daily to ensure that we are meeting the needs of every person that lives in the state of Illinois that is eligible for this program. We want it to be inclusive, efficient, and we really want it to be very thoughtful of the way we promote this program. So we're looking forward to May 17th. That just means some of us will not have a summer. That means we got to get this money out the door and into those families that need assistance. This program will provide housing security for those in need during this pandemic.
Rodrigo, thank you so much. I love the amount of good information that we're getting and the energy that we have in this virtual room, right? So Osvaldo, you're next, but just let me remind everyone that we have a Q&A. We'll be able to respond to some questions at the end of these presentations. So please type all of your questions there and we will get to them. Thank you so much, Rodrigo. Osvaldo, Statewide Director, Census Director, your turn. Thank you so much.
And Osvaldo,
thank you, Jose. Thank you, Evelyn, Rodrigo, Laila, everyone. Again, I mean, of course, Feliz Cinco de Mayo. I, of course, also was trying to wear my guayabera, you know, trying to make it as Latino as I can, right? So, again, Osvaldo Alvarez, I'm the Illinois Census Director. And many of you may be wondering, why is the Illinois Census Director on this conversation? So one of the things that I will say is that last year, 2 years ago now, when the Illinois Census Office was created, one of the things that came with the Illinois Census Office is that it created a huge Latino agenda inside of IDHS. So everything that IDHS is now looking into is looking into a Latino strategy in a very holistic way. In a way that includes Latinos from different immigration statuses, from different generations, from different who hail from different places. This is one of the things that we are now looking very intentionally, very strongly as we are doing all of this work. So ever since when the pandemic hit, the very first thing that we did at IDHS is we wanted to create like a program where because we knew that we had some sort of cash assistance programs that were going out there, but we also knew that undocumented immigrants were not going to, for example, be as comfortable, or they weren't eligible for some of the programs. So right from the get-go, we created a $2 million cash assistance program. That one went from May through June of last year, so it was really a couple months. And that program was administered by ICER, the Illinois Coalition of Immigrant and Refugee Rights. And then we dedicated $20 million of the CURES funds for housing. So that included the rental, mortgage, utility assistance for immigrants and other Latinos. That money was distributed through our already coalition of community-based organizations. And that grant went from September until March of 2021. Now, we are providing a $5 million assistance for April to June. We've been doing this, as you could only imagine, doing government contracts, it means that we have to like rethink, do we do a NOFO? Do we do this? This is a pandemic. Do we have time for a NOFO, right? So we don't, obviously, right? And so then we extended the grants from April until June. It was a $5 million grant extension. Again, this is to cover for rent, to cover for mortgage, and very importantly, to cover also for utility assistance, which is unlike the IDA program that Rodrigo was just talking about, and that we are able to help Latino families throughout be able to pay their bills. Currently, we just released a NOFO last week, and we're hoping that to get a new batch or maybe the current batch of organizations to help us continue doing this work. It is a almost $8 million grant that we have right now. That will be going out to the community-based organizations for them to continue doing this work. Again, it is for the rent assistance, for the mortgage assistance, and for the utility assistance. We dedicated $2 million for community navigator strategy to reach immigrants, immigrant communities, and other people who are at risk of eviction. So one of the things that we learned from the census is that door knocking works. We also learned that these events like that we had at the laundromats, events that we had at the taco drives, all of these events worked. And so part of what we want is we want to make sure that we continue a strategy that reaches people, and that people know about this. One of the things that we keep on hearing from from legislators and other community leaders is we ask them, so what have you heard about eviction or from people, your constituents in regards to rental assistance and what have you? And the biggest takeaway that we get is that people say, well, the most surprising part of it is that I haven't heard anything, and I only hear something when it's an extreme emergency. We don't want to get to extreme emergencies, so that is why we are dedicating a very a significant portion of our strategy in, again, as I said, from the door knocking to the marketing. We are working with Stopping Grounds Communications. They are the marketing firm we're contracting to do a Latino outreach. And we're also working together with IDA so that our organizations, including our welcoming centers and our other grantees, learn about the programs that IDA has. And that's pretty much it. The NOFO, it is due. The grants are due in June. If you have any questions, please submit them to us. We are going to be having a technical assistance bidders conference this Friday. And if you can submit all of your questions to us in writing, so that way we can answer them in a public format. Other than that, that's pretty much all I have. And thank you so much for the invitation, Jose.
Osvaldo, thank you so much. A lot of applications, a lot of deadlines that are opening, so just be out in the looks for them. I also would like to welcome Representative Delia Ramirez has just joined us. Thank you so much, Representative, for being with us. Would you like to share some words with the group?
I would. First of all, Feliz Cinco de Mayo to everyone. And it's just so good to be with all of you on Latino Unity Day. As I think of even 2.5 years ago when I started, what the experience here in Springfield was like, but also even like 10 years of coming through Latino Unity Day in my nonprofit world and seeing the number of new elected officials that represent us and that are pushing and pushing and pushing through, from making sure that we are counted through the census, to making sure that our immigrant communities have access to Medicaid expansion, and to other supportive services, and to housing, right? I just started looking at all the things that we're still working on housing, started making a list, and I felt a little overwhelmed. We've done so much. We've received a significant amount, more than $1.4 billion in federal relief for rent relief. We just passed out of 2 chambers the Emergency Housing Act bill that I was the sponsor for in the House, and Senator Aquino in the Senate, that will be working with IDA and DHS to make sure that those dollars go to the people that need it the most. But then, you know, there's a number of other things we're doing. And what's most exciting to me, if I'm being quite honest, is that it's not just me or 2 or 3 people talking about housing here in Springfield. Rodrigo and I have been at housing work for a long time, and we know that housing has never been a conversation that really has been prioritized in the state of Illinois. And to see this session, so many of my colleagues, like they're calling, they're like, I'm gonna run this housing bill. I'm gonna run this housing bill. We have a housing committee, which we worked really hard to create, to see more than 9 bills move. And I'm counting right now, an omnibus bill and another 4 more bills coming on housing. So it's a lot about where we are. And it says a lot about representation, right? If we're not here, if we're not pushing these issues, chances are they're not going to be pushed and prioritized. So I'm incredibly grateful to be with you in this panel, and I'd be happy to talk a little bit more specifics if you'd like me.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your great effort, Representative. It's time for the Q&A. I don't know if folks have been including some of the questions that they have, but if you haven't, please do so, right? We have 4 speakers and you have the chance to be able to ask them these questions. While they come in, I would ask, please, Rodrigo Carrillo, if he can remind us, when does the application for the rental assistance is going to start? I just wanted to let everyone know that we've been working with IDA for a long time now. In the website of the Latino Policy Forum, you have some video of a presentation that we did with the different Acuerdo members in our network, trying to explain what this program was. We've also held 2 Facebook Lives in Spanish, right? Trying also to get the community to understand, to learn how to apply to this rental assistance step by step. So if you're interested in that, if you're interested in, please share with the community. You can always log into the Facebook of the Latino Policy Forum, get those videos, get those links, get that information out, because it's really important that as many people as possible can really have access, right, to this much needed rental assistance. Rodrigo, can you remind a little bit the deadlines, and also I'll ask a second question while the other questions come in. Can you also explain a little bit? I think that in this round of assistance, you've come up with a system in which you don't have to wait for the landlords to apply for you in case you're having trouble, right? There's going to be an opening for the renters to be able to do it on their own. Can you explain these 2 things?
Sure thing. So really excited. May 17th is a launch date, you know, also really nervous. Yeah, I have to say that. So we're really excited that these funds will be available for housing providers to initiate the application on May 17th. This application portal will be open for 3 weeks for housing providers to complete their portion, and we're giving an extra week for landlords for tenants to complete their portion. So it's a total of a month. In June, which we are finalizing the date, once that application closes, If a housing provider did not initiate an application for one of the tenants that is behind on the rent, they will have the opportunity to do an application on their own starting in June. We'll get a date out as quickly as possible. And they will also have a 3-week time period to complete that application.
Great, thank you so much. Does even the panelists have a question for the rest of the panelists? We can always do that too.
Well, I would like to just add something.
Please.
I've been working with Rodrigo and now Osvaldo a lot on this program. So much that I had to just dye my hair recently to get rid of all the gray hairs from all the work we've been doing, right, Rodrigo? But one of the things I wanted to mention, and hopefully we'll be having the governor sign my bill into law around the same time that this program is launching, is that the bill helps IDA ensure that landlords can also initiate the process. And to Rodrigo's point, prior, the tenant would initiate the process, the landlord would go ahead and provide the documentation. The bill will allow for the landlords to also help. So that if the landlord needs to start applying and help and provide support, they'll be able to do that. The other thing is that we did, and we got a lot of pushback from folks on the other side of my side of the aisle, was that we wanted to make sure that we prioritize these funds to people that need it the most. Those have been impacted most by COVID. We all know that is Black and Latinos. We've been hit the hardest by COVID. We need to make sure that this money gets to them. So what the bill says is, when possible, IDA is going to try its best to prioritize these dollars to our communities. And I know they're already going to do that. They were already doing that work, but this gives them the authority to really make that happen. In the Latino community, we unfortunately couldn't get as many people in the first program supported as we wanted. This is why Rodrigo and Osvaldo are working so hard in creative ways to make sure, one, we have more agencies, Latino or Spanish-speaking agencies, helping us through the process. And two, we're targeting these neighborhoods and these communities that have been impacted, not just in Chicago, but also downstate and central Illinois. Because let's be honest, and let's be proud, Latinos are everywhere. So those two are going to be really important. The last one was around data. So one of the things the bill requests is that IDA and DHS just keep the tenants informed on where they are in the process, right? So if they're applying, they'll be able to know, hey, my application is being processed, or it's going to be another few weeks. So it gives a tenant a little bit more notification while they're waiting to hear if they've been funded. So that's going to be really, really important for us. And then finally, we're prioritizing people that need the most help. You and I both know that if I owe a landlord $10,000 and I give him $3,000, I still owe him $7,000, he will still evict me. What IDA is doing now is they have significant increase. They removed caps, and they will be able to prioritize and provide support to people that have significant arrears. That means that they're owing $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000. Because the point of the program and the work that we're doing is we want to keep as many people housed and prevent eviction as much as possible. This is why this program launching May 17th is so critical. The moratorium on eviction is still in place. It allows us to get the program running and then hopefully get that money out the door as soon as possible. So I wanted to just mention that. You can tell I get excited about this. We need to make sure that our Latinos don't end up in the street, that our Illinoisans don't end up in the street. No one wants to see a family in a shelter. Some of us have worked at shelters and amazing organizations, but we know that the key is to prevent homelessness from the beginning.
Thank you, Representative. We do have a question by Luis Sinchi. It's a two-part question, and I think that, Rodrigo, you've already talked about this, but I think that it's important to really reiterate. It's asking, will families not be able to apply for rent relief if landlords cannot provide social security number or proof of citizenship?
So there is no proof of citizenship required. The landlord must provide a social security or ITIN number in order to start the application. That is a Treasury requirement.
Great, thank you so much. There was also a question, Rodrigo, about the agencies that are helping out, and I know that today you were posting the list of agencies in your website.
Yes, so we finalized 64 agencies to help us throughout the state, as I mentioned. 80% of those agencies serve Spanish-speaking communities, and 25% focus on Latino communities. So that list should be posted no later than tomorrow morning. And we have sent those lists to all of the 64 agencies who have been actively promoting our program anyway. And we're also sending that out to anybody that needs it. It will be posted on our website, ihda.org.
Our great partner from the Latino Policy Forum, Maria Pike, is asking, when will housing providers know if their tenants were approved? Where do they go?
So the process will be as once an application is submitted, a full application by both the housing provider and the tenant, it will come to us for review. Leader Ramirez just spoke about the prioritization, and we're focusing in on those that are below 50% AMI, as well as those that have been unemployed. Those applications will be reviewed. And then an approval, once an approval is made, it will be updated for the website. So you can check to see if you've been approved on the website. And also an email will be sent to both the landlord, housing provider, sorry, and the tenant at the same time to let them know of the approval.
So we don't have more time. I think we've done great because it's 11:19, just 1 minute beforehand. So Evelyn, Oswaldo, Rodrigo, Representative Ramirez, thank you so much for this great information. Thank you for sharing your time with us. I'd just like to remind folks that we're gonna break for 5 minutes. If you're interested in the concurrent session talking about COVID-19 recovery as it relates to health, please stay in this link. Don't go anywhere because we're gonna be using the same one, right? We're just breaking for 5 minutes, but it's the same link. And if you're interested in going to the education session, when you signed up, you received a link for that session. It's the session 1/3. That's how it works. So just go to that one, right? If you have any, if you have any questions, just shoot us a text or in the Q&A and we'll try to. But if you're interested in the COVID-19 recovery, it's the same link. If you want to go to education, please use the link that you got. It's pertaining to session 1/3. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for sharing the time with us, panelists. We really appreciate it. Hope to see you soon.
Adios.
Thank you.
Hasta luego.